Yes, I'm called John Dominic, Pan-Africanist. When I talk about Pan-Africanists, we talk about that is the ideology which was uh, brought by uh, Africanist descendant leaders, including Kwame Nkrumah, Nyerere, Julius of Tanzania, and other African leaders, and African diaspora who in abroad like Marcus Garvey and Danko. And then I would like to talk about the legacy that African leaders should leave for the future generation of Africa. When I talk about the future generation of Africa, just understand that I talk about the future leaders of Africa. Uh, Primarily, the legacy that our recent leaders should leave for the future generation of Africa, I would like to say that is unity. When I talk about unity, which they should leave for the future generation, when I talk about it, I do remember our descendant leaders of African, like when I talk about Kwame Nkrumah, I talk about Gaddafi, I talk about Abdul Gamal Nasser of Egypt. Uh, those are the leaders who tried to leave the legacy of unity. They left the legacy of unity in African leaders. Up to now, the African leaders, what they are doing is the results of what those one they left for them. Now we have African Union. We appreciate for that, and they are working. We appreciate our leader, our honorable president of Morocco, Asman. And when I talk about that unity that they should leave for the future generation, is this. In African, we have youth like the characteristic of 2021. The young children of under 4 years, they were like 206 million, which means we have population in Africa. But when you leave unit, the future generation will follow what these current leaders are doing. So, which will help the future leaders, the future doctors, the future pastors of Africa to live together in unity is what the leaders of today are teaching them. Let me say this. If we have the conflicts, battle, war in some African leaders per now, let me say like DRC, Ethiopia, and other African countries, if they are in war and other countries sleeping, oversleep, that means we are leaving nothing for the future African youth. But when we work together and we try to solve Africans' problem together, that's the best legacy that we are leaving it for the future generation of Africa. Secondly, in Africa, almost the youth of Africa, they are crying lack of employment in African youth. When we see in African youth, many of them, almost of them, they studied. They have degrees, masters. But according to what is there, it's like they went to study nothing. Because they studied, but all of them, they are at home crying about jobs. So what I would like to require or to request, this is not at matter, I'm requesting for the African leaders they should try their best to involve African youth in government work. Let nothing and forget nothing about you. Let me say this. You find almost the governments of Africa, the workers or the ministers, deputies, MPs, governors, they are almost above 45 years, 50. So which means these young Africans, if you show them the way and train them to be the good leader of African, they will move in darkness because you didn't show them light. So I would like to request our honorable African representative of this year, Asuman Azal, the president of Morocco, to try best to try improve the African youth in governments, in government jobs, and to try to unite them. Because if we don't mind about that, I know that the future African leaders want to be as how we want or as how we wish them to be. Because they have not see anyone who can orient them in a good way or who can orient them in right. You find they work for themselves, selfish. If there is selfish in the governments of Africa, if government doesn't mind about youth, you know that there is no legacy you are living in Africa. But as a request, not ultimatum, I would like to request for the African leaders to try to involve youth in the government. In government, yes. Because if you don't mind about it, know that you are living nothing. And this young generation of Africa will learn nothing and forget nothing about our leaders. Let me say, up to now, and even future generation, forget about what Kwame Nkrumah did in Africa. We not forget about Muhammad Gaddafi. They will not forget about Ben Bell. They will not forget about Abdul Gamed Nasser. They will not forget about Haile Selassie. They will not forget about Nyerere and other African leaders. Which means they left their legacy for the future generation, which is current or recent generation. So I would like to request to leave the legacy of unity, legacy of employment, the legacy of patriotism. So try to teach African youth how to love Africa, how to love their countries. Do you know that there is some African youth who are so proud to be the slaves of whites more than loving their countries? We have enough wealth in Africa. Just it's all about to change our minds and know that we have enough things. We have enough things to do in Africa. So try your best to teach them to love their countries. In my conclusion, I would like to extend my message to the African Youth Organization representative, who is Mr. Sadiq of Cairo in Egypt, to try to work hard for the future generation of Africa and try to work them up to see how they can try their best in development of African youth. I would like also to come back on my points of unity. African youth try to work for the unity of Africa. We have many youth of Africa who are in country, which in their country they are in war. Those people, they need counseling. Those youth, they need to reach on them and try to comfort them. Because right now they are not studying cause of battle, cause of war. So try your best to work on those guys who are in African countries. Other people, they are not studying because of tuition, school fees. So as African organization of the youth, try to work on those issues for the better legacy, for the better future of Africa. So I end up saying that Africa for Africans. It is me, John Dominic, Pan-Africanist, young Pan-Africanist. I love country. I like Africa for the future generation of Africa.